previous topic, we talked about visual design on a high level. I now want to talk to you about one of the techniques within this design phase. It's called conceptualization. There's multiple ways you can do it, but often there's a few things you need before you get started. The visual design brief is really important. That's basically a document that outlines what the stakeholders imagine and envisage to be the look and the feel for the website. And you need to make sure you understand that. Something else you need is software tools. Obviously, you need a tool to be able to produce the artifacts. You might also do some desktop research so you can better understand what's going out there, what's common trends that are happening. Obviously, by now, you've understood your user goals as well as your business goals, so you can focus on those. You've also got your wireframes. Going to be helping you to put the final touches of the visual design. And depending on who you are, you might have a few other things that you would add to this pot. But end of the day, the whole idea is you've got a bunch of information that you're going to bring into the visual design process. What tends to happen at that point is the visual designer might start thinking about what they call mood boards, or try to get a better understanding of what the design could look like. But it's not final. It's not using real text or anything like that. It's just some high-level ideas and feelings. Typically, the client would give you a direction about which one they want to go with. It's at that point the visual designer would produce concepts. So the whole idea behind conceptualization is to produce 2, 3, or 4 distinctly different concepts to take back to your stakeholders. Now, often, one is a bit safe. One, you might want to go really way out, and you might want to do something in between. The whole idea is to give a range of ideas and concepts for the stakeholders to look at and decide. Now, what typically tends to happen is the stakeholders usually rule out one because they just not think it's not for them. And sometimes either pick one or pick a couple, and they want to see a bit of a hybrid of the two. This is all okay. Basically, you're going through a funnel. So you've had all these inputs, you've brought into the pot, you've gone through the creative process, produced 3 different concepts, 2, 3, or maybe even 4. And the idea is to get a bit of a direction. Once you've got the direction, it's at that point that you bring designs together and you start to produce the actual artifacts that you will then hand over to the coders and developers of the website to build the site. Let's go back to the house analogy again. So remember, the visual design was equivalent to the phase where the interior designer and the architect got together to decide on things like colors, textures, and patterns around the house. So visual design for a website is very similar. The ultimate goal is for you to come up with a various number of concepts, run it past your stakeholders, and get approval. So you have one final design to pass on to the developers. Now, I'm pretty sure your interior designer wouldn't just give the architect or the client one concept. They would produce a number of concepts. So consider how much time you have and number of concepts you want to deliver, because it does take a long time. So when I talk about multiple concepts for a website, they could be quite different. Imagine the wireframe is a blueprint. So as the visual designer, you do have some creative license to explore alternative designs. Just make sure you don't impact the usability of the design. So in this topic, we've talked about conceptualization as a visual design technique. Hopefully you have a better understanding of the sorts of information you need and the process you can go through to ensure you derive at an outcome. In the next topic, I'm going to talk about branding and user experience.